Aloha Velina, ke aloha kako pakahia pau, mahalo no ko oko hui puana. Welcome to all of you. I know it's 5:59, so we have a couple more seconds, but we'll just get started. I wanted to just start off with introducing myself. Ova iho no Mālia Kaʻaihue, mai ka mokupuni o Keawe, aia ko'u kulaiwi ma Wailohinu, ua hanau ia au I hilo a kinohone au Mākea au I keia manawa. Aloha to all of you. My name is Mālia Kaʻaihue. I was born on the Big Island in Hilo, and my kulaiwi or my ancestral lands are in Wailohinu Ka'u. I live in Kia'au, past Makaha, on Oahu, now with my husband in the community that he grew up in, and our 8 keiki, and my grandson, who's my neighbor. So I just wanted to welcome all of you. Thank you for coming and investing in yourself tonight. It always excites me when I get to share space and time with other people that are investing in themselves. Our discussion tonight is on Pico Wākea, spring equinox. My intention is that it's a realignment for you, or just a moment for you to pause and start to reflect upon the things that need realignment in your life. I'm going to start off by sharing a little bit of the background of Pico Wākea and what that means to us as island people, as Kanaka. And then we'll chat a little bit about the spring equinox, because that's, the Western term for this time. And then we'll talk about you and me and all of us in this room, and focus on realigning our bodies, minds, and spirit in this space. So my intent is to be with you for about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, and then you can enjoy the rest of your Pauhana Friday, Aloha Friday after that. I wanted to say definitely thank you to Actions of Aloha for creating this space and time for us to share. I hope you guys are subscribed to our newsletter. Actions of Aloha was born out of the pandemic and the desire to amplify aloha in a time when people were feeling a lot of despair and disconnection. And so Actions of Aloha was born out of that, and it just became a movement that people are continuing to share and tag and inspire others in their own acts of aloha. And so Actions of Aloha is always focused on aloha as a verb. So getting out there and showing aloha in all that you do. So mahalo nui to Actions of Aloha and Kaiani Kiaha, who's on the call with us tonight. So I told you I wanted to start off with talking about Pico Wākea, and I think it's really important because it's connected to us. It's actually connected to our physical bodies and our physical beings. And tonight we'll talk a little bit about our mind, body, and spirit. But really, if we understand it from a cultural perspective and how it connects to these larger phenomenons that are happening in the universe at the same time, then we're really able to start to generate, manage, instigate even energy. And so much of the work that I do is dependent on the energy that I have. And this is, I have 8 children, and sometimes I feel like I have no energy, but when I'm in alignment, right, I can push through that, right? I can arise to my higher self. And so understanding our personal alignments as women and understanding the Honua's alignment, the world's alignment, the universe's alignment, and being able to connect those and have that connection, hopefully will give you a deeper relationship about this time of year and this season that we're talking about, as well as the different types of energy that you can pull, draw, create, manage, all the things, right? Energy related. I'm a big believer in magic. If you know me, you know that. My dad was a pure Hawaiian fisherman from Ka'u. And when he passed, he had nothing to give me, no assets, no land, no money. But he bestowed upon me since my birth this notion of make magic. And It was this concept that he believed in his heart that I was capable of doing anything. And because of that belief, because I grew up with that belief, I've always had that kind of commitment to myself that no matter how hard or challenging or scary anything is, that, I'm the magic. And I really, truly believe that for each of you, that you are the magic. And oftentimes we don't get to, or maybe we don't feel seen or feel like all of the things that we're putting out in the universe are being answered or responded to. But I want you to know that they definitely are. And each and every one of you are magic. You are magic beings in this amazing universe that we live in. And I'm assuming that most of you are here in Hawaiian, and even more so, we get to experience the magic of our ʻāina in this place on a daily basis. So one thing I want to leave with you is definitely leave room for the magic. Okay. On this call and in life in general, leave room for the magic. So our Pico, right? Hawaiians believe we have 3 Pico, actually 4, but 3 is kind of the common knowledge of Pico. And we're going to talk about 3 tonight. We have our Pico, that's our fontanelle. So when babies are born, they have an opening, right, in their skull. You've experienced it. They call it normally like the soft spot. And the Pico of your po'o, right, is your manava. It's called Pico manava. So I'll give you a second, say that amongst yourself, Pico manava. I want you to actually put your hand here on your Pico manava, your right hand on your Pico manava, because this is a space that connects you to your ancestors and to your akua and all of the spiritual beings in which you might believe in. It's a space that connects you to your grandparents and everything that came before us, right? All of the past, all of that rich history and tradition, all of those people that had to procreate to make sure that you were born in all of your beauty. And so this is a space that connects us to that place. And that's why, in Hawaiian culture, you never touch another person's head or, put your kids on the head, because we believe kapu ke po'o, the po'o is a sacred space. And this is a space that connects you to your ancestors. Okay, you can put your hands down. The second space is your Pico ʻāina, and that's a Pico, it's your umbilical cord or your navel, and it's in the center of your body, and that Pico connects you to your parents and your siblings. So it physically connects you to your mom while you're in the womb and as you come out, but it also is a spot that connects you to all of your siblings. And in Hawaiian culture, your siblings are your brothers and sisters and anybody of your generation. So cousins as well would be considered your siblings, but your Pico ʻāina connects you to all of that. So it connects you to the present. Okay. And then your Pico in your genital areas, or the opening in your genital areas, or that space that allows for procreation, that's your Pico Waiʻolu. And Pico Waiʻolu is, Vai is water or liquid, and Olu is happy, so it's happy place. And which I'm sure most of you agree. And if it's not a happy place for you now, I definitely invite you to reacquaint yourself with that place and make it a happy place, because it should be something that's celebrated. And this is because we are always procreating. That's part of who we are as females. And whether you're a mother or not, I'm sure that you are stewards to many people in your life. And that space, the Pico Waiʻolu, is a space that connects us to all of the future generations that are going to be connected to you. So it's also a sacred space. And so these Pico, right, are the Pico of our body, right? And every day we can check in with our body, right? We can check in with our Pico manava, we can check in with our Pico ʻāina, we can check in with our Pico Waiʻolu, and just do body scans, right? That's something that many people do in meditation work. But if you want to do it from a cultural perspective and a Hawaiian perspective, you can check in with your Pico. And the Pico are in the center of your body and part of the alignment process of your physical being. So it's a great way to just check in with yourself. And of course, Pico o Wākea talks about the center of the earth, right? And so before we get to Pico o Wākea, I want to talk a little bit about Wākea. Wakia in our culture is Sky Father. Wakia and Earth Mother mate. This helps me too. So Wakia is Sky Father and Earth Mother is and they give birth to the Hawaiian people and the Hawaiian Islands. And Wākea is also a star. Many of you may be familiar with Wākea, with the recent conversations and discourse around Mauna Kea, Mauna a Wākea. But Wākea is also the name for the equator and the middle of the earth. So when we say Piko Wākea, that's referring to that space. We know that the spring equinox is the Western term is the start of spring. But it physically is when the sun crosses over the equator. And we believe too, as people, that we also have a northern hemisphere, and Kalenu Uhiwa talks about this, but your northern hemisphere is from your Pico up, and then your southern hemisphere is from your Pico down. So as we think about the hemispheres of the earth, we can also think about the hemispheres of our kino, or our body. And the line of the equator is a Piko Wākea. And so when the sun crosses that line, it's really the shift into a new season, right? And when anything is shifting, right, that's when we get this movement of energy and of movement. I think about Mauna Loa and Kilauea erupting this year. And I think about the energy, and I'm sure everybody saw images of the volcanoes while they were erupting or had the opportunity to go see them. But you don't have to even be there physically to see and to feel the mana. Like, I'm thinking about the volcano erupting right now. And maybe we should all do that. So close your eyes with me and think about standing there off of the Nahelehele, off of the, the forest, and seeing in a far distance, right, this eruption, and seeing the hot magma coming out and flowing onto the ʻāina, onto the land. And just, I don't know if you can check in with your body right now, but for me, my hands are getting really clammy and warm. Like, there's this warmth that's generating over me. There's this heat that it kind of feels like the temperature has risen, right? There's energy moving, right? So you can open your eyes. But that's the same thing I think about when I think about Piko Wākea, or this time, or the season where seasons are shifting. It's a time of turning, of moving, of movement. And so it is a great time to check in with ourselves. Why is it important to have alignment? You guys know, you guys have had days when you're fully aligned and it's like, wow, I slammed everything on my list and I'm going and I have a lot of energy and I feel really great. And you've had the opposite, right? Where you're like, what's happening today? And no amount of cups of coffee are going to get me through this day. It just needs to end, right? And spring equinox, or Piko Wākea, helps with that realignment and to help to prepare you for this next season that's coming. And so one of the things I think about is, what am I trying to accomplish, right? It's a time when you come back to yourself, like really deeply in reflection. Like, what am I trying to accomplish? What do I really want out of this? Whether it's your job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's your relationship with yourself. What am I really trying to accomplish? What's my mission? Like, big, powerful questions. Now is the time for those questions. So I would really encourage you after this to spend some time thinking about it if you have not already, and ask yourself those powerful questions. It can be really simple. Like, what do I really want? What is my mission? Right? And just checking in with yourself to see, it's like an audit, right? It's really important to audit ourselves in the process of realignment, because auditing ensures that we are going to, we can think about it from a business perspective where we want to provide more value, but think about it too. That applies with yourself, right? Wanting to provide yourself with more value. And that value might come in the form of self-love. It might come in the form of time in nature. It might come in the form of education. It can manifest its way in many different ways. But really, it's how do I provide more for myself and check in with myself in a way that allows me to provide more value, whether it's for your, from a Hawaiian perspective, for yourself, for your ohana, for your community, and for your ʻāina, right? And the world. But it's basically resource analysis, right? 101. It's like checking in to make sure that, we always tune up our cars, right? And get oil changes, but we rarely do that for ourselves. It's checking in on all your resources to make sure that they're still functioning, and not only functioning, but functioning well, functioning in a synchronized way towards a common goal. And if you don't already have a vision or a mission for your life, that can be your work over this next season, is figuring out what your mission is. And then once you have a mission or a vision, that becomes your North Star. And once you have your North Star, then everything that you do is in alignment with that North Star. And if it's not, it's really easy to go, ooh, that doesn't feel good. Like, let me come back on this pathway. My personal mission is to disrupt mainstream space with Hawaiian knowledge. That's what I believe I was put on the planet to do. And that manifests in many different forms. It manifests in having many Hawaiian children. It manifests in having businesses. It manifests in leadership opportunities that I have. But that's my personal mission. So my check-in, right, with myself is this in alignment with that mission, right? Or have I gotten off track? And so it's easy to get distracted. We're in the distraction era now, social media and all the things, right? And in order to really reflect, you really need to have sacred space. And when I say sacred space, I don't necessarily mean a church, but potentially it could be a church for you or a temple. It's just a space that is sacred to you, a space that you can get to that allows you to get in touch with your heart, allows you to get in touch with your deepest thoughts, allows you to be silent, right? It's wild how much stimulation is coming at us just in a normal day, right? So the act of being silent, right? The act of introspection is something that's becoming a greater and greater gift if you can find that space. So find sacred space to do that. And for you, it might be on a beach, it might be in the mountains, it might be in your grandma's kitchen. There's really no rules around it, right? Same like when you meditate, it's your meditation. Like, do it where it makes sense to you and where it feels best in alignment with who you are, right? You don't have to sit a certain way or do a certain thing. You just have to do you and find that quiet space that you can really be introspective with yourself. And Pico Wākea, this time, really is the foundation. It provides everything in the universe is happening in the same manner. So as soon as you realign with yourself, you'll feel a greater realignment with the universe. And I think that, finding that sacred space allows you to really start to dig deep and to really get to some of those questions without the distraction. So encouragement of sacred space. If you need like a tool, like a trigger, a positive trigger, you have your Pico up here, you can always touch your Pico to bring you back to sacred space, or to remind you that, you need to tap into that sacred space and spend time there and spend time alone. One of my, a book called Change We Must by Nana Viri, which is an amazing book, but she says silence is the Hawaiian superpower. And it's something that I try to think about all the time, is that really it was in the silence that we learned how to take care of these islands so well. It was in the silence that we learned how to be the best stewards of our communities, of our families, right? Because we were always taking in data and information and storing it and comparing it to what we had known, whether it's a fish pond or a lo'i. But it was really that silence and that space and time with nature that allowed us to be the best, to kuleai kanu. I wanted to bring up that phrase to kuleai kanu because I think it's really important. Why we need to have our body, mind, and spirit aligned is because that is the only space in which we can kuleai kanu. And kuleai kanu means strive for excellence. And that's a very Hawaiian thing. It's not something that we just do in our professional career. But if you're washing the dishes, you're going to wash the dishes with a sense of excellence, right? You're going to do it the best that you know how. And when you start to apply that excellence to everything in your life, right? To listening to other people, in your relationships, and it is a muscle, like it needs to be worked out all the time, because it's not easy to be excellent all the time, like our kupuna were. But it's something that as you grow that muscle, right, you begin to look for that excellence in all you do. And the number one reason why it's important to have a realignment and to generate energy off of Piko Wākea is so that you can find that excellence. So kulia ika nu'u, many of you are familiar with that term. If you're not, I want you to write it down. But it means to strive for your excellence and the best. And it was really a value that we held dear, that everything that we touched or did, the words that came out of our mouth would come out in a way that had the sense of excellence. And in that excellence, right, is compassion, is cleanliness, is all the different things. It's a really packed word. But really, when we try to do it every day in all that we do, it really raises our level of energy and intention in the world. Which, when your energy is higher and your intention is higher and you're in tuned, the craziness that happens is the magic piece, right? The universe comes here. And you guys have all experienced this, where you're like, oh, I'm going to get this kind of car. I'm thinking about getting this kind of car. And then all you see is that car everywhere, right? It's because you're putting out an intention in the universe, and you're solidifying that. And then the universe, like, boom, boom, boom. And that becomes the lens in which you see the world. So imagine if you did that with your life's mission, where you talk to the universe about your life's mission all the time. You journal about it, you write about it, you pray about it, and you're continuing to set that mission over and over again. And then, the crazy part is the universe, like, yes, I hear you. I'm with you. I see you. Let's do this work together. And so kulia ika nu'u, and people ask why a body alignment. For me, it's kulia ika nu'u. It's really so that you can function at your most optimal, with excellence. And that facilitates collaboration. All kinds of crazy stuff happens. Facilitates collaboration. It enhances productivity. It really releases your potential, right? If you get to that summit, which is the, Kule ika nu'u, if you're thinking of Mauna Kea, for example, it really is arriving there is the release of all the potential that's been stored up in you. And I wanted to just take just pause to say that it's also really important that we take risks. And I'm not saying quit your job after this or anything crazy like that, but calculated risks are really important. That's how we learn and grow. That's how we had the most productive fish ponds in the whole world, was because our kupuna listened, learned, and then took calculated risks and continued to make the system better and better through both failing and learning, until it was excellent, right? So it's really important as Wāhine that we feel comfortable taking risk. And I know oftentimes we're not nurtured in that environment, right? We many of us spent our childhoods trying not to fail, not being encouraged to fail. But I hope that that's a paradigm that we can shift for the next generation, that failure is actually a really healthy part of being a human. We're not perfect beings. None of us are perfect beings. But if we can fail in a way that we have a relationship to that we know that we learn every time we fail and we're able to make those adjustments, then failure can be your biggest advocate in life, because it'll continue to push you to be the best version of yourself. So in this time when there's all this energy moving around the universe, now is the time to think about, like, what calculated risks do I want to take? Right? Especially if you do an alignment check with yourself and you're like, okay, this really does not feel in alignment with my mission or who I am. It doesn't even feel good. I'm not enjoying it, but I'm showing up and smiling and yay. It's a good time to take a risk and maybe step down from that kuleana, maybe create healthier boundaries, maybe do research on another, occupation or hobby. Right? This is a time where the universe will really support all of that type of thinking while you're digging deeper within you, right? The deeper your roots are, the, farther your wings can expand. And what I found in the last couple of months, talking to people since the beginning of this new year, is, people are struggling around us. The mental health crisis in the nation is through the roof. 1 in every 3 girls is identifying with being depressed. And pediatricians and doctors' offices are bringing in therapists and psychologists into pediatric offices because it's, the phenomenon is happening throughout the country. And so, it's not, I also don't want you to feel like you're alone, right? Because all of us, our community is in a space where everybody's re-engaging with each other with different rules, post-pandemic. And it's a time when we're reconnecting with all the things that, might have been disrupted during that time. And for some people, it's a very sad time because it's related to a lot of loss. Just think about the people that lost their jobs and entire industries that collapsed during that time, right? So it's a time in our community where there's a lot of grief and people are going through the grieving process in different phases and stages. But that is the landscape, right? So it's not hard to be in that space, right? And part of it is our self-talk and our narrative. And so that's why I want to talk about the mind. So the mind is a very important tool. It holds our brain and triggers every single movement in our body and all the synapses and all the things physiologically that make us function as humans and as badass Wāhine. But your mind can also be your worst enemy, right? Because your mind is where you think, right? And oftentimes we spend way too much time in thought and not enough time in action. So if that's you, if that relates to you, if you feel that, right? If you're like, yes, I feel that, I'm thinking too much. If you have a narrative that you've created or a narrative that you've inherited that is no longer serving you, I want to give you permission to dump that narrative today. You have permission to dump that narrative, whatever it might be. And the mind is a beautiful tool, but the mind can also get you stuck in many ways. So Hawaiians believe that we had our na'au, right? And in Western culture, people say like your gut, you have your gut feeling, right? You've heard that. Well, your gut feeling is really your na'au talking to you. So part of what I want you to do in managing your mind and thinking about your realignment of your mind is to connect your mind to your gut, right? And to start to listen to your gut. It's why on like SAT tests and all those things, they say go with your first instinct, because your first instinct has a higher probability of being correct than after you think about it for, a couple minutes and you're thinking and thinking and thinking and talking yourself out of this one and that one. But it's because there's so much energy in your gut, right? That's why gut health is so important. When I talked about the Pico, right? Like your Pico manava for babies, Hawaiians would put food in the Pico manava on top, kalo and ulu, to feed the ancestors, to feed the kupuna, right? To feed the baby, to nurture that connection of the baby with the spiritual realm. And you can think about your gut too. It's really your first mouth, right? Your Pico, your navel, it's your first mouth. It's where you get all your nutrition from your mom when you're in the womb, and it continues to feed you throughout your life. But lots of us lose our connection with our na'au, right? Because we're so stuck up here in our head that we can't access our na'au, or we can access it, but we oftentimes just push it aside. So I really want you guys to really think about that. Like, what's your relationship with your na'au? When's the last time you made a decision based off your intuition, right? Because that's really where your intuition lives, right? Leaders that think with their head are great, but leaders that think and move and make decisions based off of intuition are even better. It's also the seat of compassion, right? It's also our seat of empathy, where all that lives. All of us have been in situations where we're sitting in a room and something uncomfortable happens or whatever it might be, and your stomach gets sore as you got uncomfortable. It's your seat of empathy, like it's triggering you in a physical way, asking you to call up all of those things, right? And so your na'au is a really important part of, to me, your mind, and being able to really balance the two is a really amazing gift if you can do that. But in order to do that, the first step is really to start listening to your na'au and your intuition. Because at the end of the day, you know, and if you don't know, right, you're putting yourself in sacred space so that you can continue to reflect, to pray, to get the answers that you need. And the answers aren't going to be bestowed upon you. The answers are within you, right? And in order to connect to those answers, you need to be able to connect to yourself. So lots of times your physical pain that you're feeling is like directly connected to your emotional well-being and health. And your na'au is a perfect trigger for checking in on your health. So we talked about body, we talked about mind, and we talked about spirit a little bit. I want to check in with all of you. You know, one last thing I'll say about spirit is really spirit is like spirituality is really connecting to your source, whatever your source might be. It's, you know, it allows you to move beyond your mind, you know, and you can do that through prayer, meditation, being in sacred space. Last month I was in Mexico in Mayan country in Chichen Itza, and it's the Mayan temples, and you immediately know you're in sacred space, right? That comes upon, like, you feel that throughout your body, every pore in your body. So it's really important, that spiritual space, to be able to connect to that spiritual space. And this is actually something that I've been working on in this last decade of my life. It wasn't something that I grew up with or that I had a connection to, but really in the last decade, I've been working on my spiritual aptitude and realigning that with my other elements of my being. So I will pause there, and I want to see if we have any questions. I see somebody raise their hand. Let me see. I think you can just type your questions in the chat and then I can answer them. So I'll just pause and check in with everybody and see if there's any questions. I see somebody raise their hand. Any questions? Okay, I see your hand up. Oh, okay. I have a question about Actions of Aloha. Is it a foundation? It's a charitable business. So we're not a 501c3, but we make money and give money out. So what we did during the pandemic was we were able to give $10,000 to Iolani Palace, $10,000 to Waimea Valley, to just different places that were impacted by the pandemic. Our latest donation has been to Ahapuna Leo for Hawaiian Language Month. So we're a for-profit company that is a charitable for-profit. Hope that answers your question. I actually was in public sector myself before I feel like we're not going to go there, but that was the question. Okay, so that's the only question right now. Oh. And no question, but it's awesome information, inspirational, relate on every level. Good. I know. I feel like we just need more space and time to be together as Wāhine, and to have these conversations together and to continue to call each other to higher action collectively. It's such a gift and an opportunity. So I was thinking to close tonight with a meditation, a guided meditation that I'll guide. I hope that everything that I shared helped you to understand the time of year that we're in and the season that we're in and the opportunity. Really, it's an opportunity to shift, to make big shifts in your life. And you only can make a big shift by digging deep, by connecting to your body, your mind, and your spirit, and by, charting a new pathway forward. And so I hope you take advantage of this Pico Wakia time when the earth and the universe is making her magic, and you can make your magic alongside the universe too. If you want to join us for a guided meditation, you can stay on the line, and we'll do maybe a 5-minute guided meditation before we end. And if you do have other questions that you didn't get to ask it, go ahead and just drop it in the chat or in the question and answer section, and I'll get to them after the guided meditation. Okay. So I'm just going to invite you to get comfortable, whatever it might be. Maybe it's lying down on your couch. Maybe you're sitting on your bed. Maybe you're on the floor. I do want you to find some space to touch the ground, whether you're outside in the ʻāina or whether you're just, in your hale, in your room or your office. If you can kick your shoes off and touch the ground or sit on the ground, that would be great. Just to connect ourselves and ground ourselves with that connection. I'm going to invite you, now that you're comfortable, to close your eyes. I'm going to lead you through a guided meditation. I'm just going to get my timer up so I can. And we're going to start off this meditation by taking 3 big deep breaths. And as we take our breaths, I'm going to invite you to put your hand on your Piko manava and on your Piko vaina. And we're going to breathe in and hold our breath and then breathe out. And I'll do the counting. So just follow along. Start to feel your body in your feet or in your seat. Start to relax. Feel the weight of your body falling. Invite everything that's going on in your mind, dinner, the kids, the deadline. Invite it to give you space to go away with aloha. Okay, we'll take a deep breath. Deep breath in. 1, 2, 3. Hold it. 2, 3. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in. 2, 3. Hold it. And breathe out. Deep breath in. 1, 2, 3. Hold it. And breathe out. Feel free to drop your hands. Place them where they're comfortable. We're going to check in with our Pico tonight. First, our Piko manava, the space that connects us to our ancestors, to our grandparents. Just want you to find an image on your mind. For me, it's my Grandma Mary, of a person or a place that reminds you of the spiritual connection that we have to all that have come before us. Maybe it's a couple people, maybe it's a couple places. I want you to focus on that image. I want you to see yourself in that image. We are our ancestors. We are tomorrow's ancestors. With that, in every day, we go through the day with aloha, doing our best, striving for our best, calling our best self forward. And we know that we're not alone. When we seek change in this time of Pico Wākea, that our 40,000 ancestors are with us. They are our backbone, that we would never move mountains alone, but together with our ancestors and our grandparents and the legacy that was left for us in this place, in this magical place of Hawaii, that we are tomorrow's ancestors. With gratitude, slowly let that image, that visualization drift away back to your Piko manava. Take a deep breath to clear the space. Check in with your Pico Vaina. If you want to, put your hand there. This place on our body, that's our first mouth that fed and nourished us before we came into this world, that feeds and nourishes each and every one of our children. This place that connects us to our parents, to our siblings, to our cousins, to our generation. I want you to pick an image or visualize an image in your mind that connects to any one of these things, that brings you into the present. I want to acknowledge all that is there, the good, the bad, the generational trauma, the longing and grief, the joy, the happiness, the connection, the belonging. And for all of that, with all of the light, focus on this space in our body, sending light out to all of those people in our Pico Vaina space, in our navel space, that we may nourish or that continue to nourish us. Slowly let those images go and come back to your center. With a deep breath, clear the space. And check in with our Piko Vai Olu. You can rest your hands comfortably. Our Piko Vai Olu is a beautiful space that allows us to create children, the next generation. It's a space that connects us to our legacy that we're leaving as tomorrow's ancestors. And this might come in the form of the work you do, the communities that you serve, the family members that you serve. For our beautiful Queen Pauahi, it was for all the children that she served. So this might manifest for you in many different ways. It might be your child or your grandchild. Pick an image or two or three that are relevant in this space for you. Maybe a moment in time, a memory. And maybe that image or that memory is one of pain, of sadness. And that's okay if that's what's showing up for you. We surround all of the things that are showing up, all of the joy of new life and new endeavors, and the joy of being servant leaders, all of that compassion and empathy and aloha that we have. We surround this space and direct our light here in our body, connecting our heads for our Pico Vaina through all of the work that we do, for all the work that is yet to come, for all of the kuleana that has yet to find us, for all of the unborn children. We send our aloha to this space. And with gratitude, thank it. Thank you for everything that's showing up for you in this space. Thank your body. You can invite those images to leave and take a deep breath, clear the space. We are aligned. We are realigned in body, mind, and spirit. We are the northern and southern hemisphere of the universe. And as the sun moves over the equator, so do we take fearless movement, take deep-rooted movement, take risks, into the next movement and space in our life, we are going to meet it with compassion, with creativity, with innovation, with excitement, with joy, all of the things that Pico Wākea reminds us of. We are connected to ourselves and to the universe. We are connected. We belong. We are enough. We are worthy. We are seen. We are a mana Wāhine. I'm going to close the meditation. Feel free to stay and rest as long as you need to before coming back to the room. Close out your practice with a deep breath. This time taking it all in, receiving it all. Awesome. Sorry, that was 10 minutes. It was a little bit longer, but I hope it was magical for you. It was magical for me. I just have so much aloha for everyone that made time and space to come together and to celebrate ourselves and to make space for yourself in your own realignment, which is so important, and to share that space with me. I have so much gratitude. Each and every one of you are amazing and beautiful. And I see some of your names, and I'm just humbled to be here and share space with you. Thank you for letting me be a part of your Aloha Friday. And hopefully we can come together again on another important topic and do some more growth together. Mahalo nui. If you have any questions, I'm going to hang out. But if you're good, you feel good, feel free to drop off. And I wish I could just unmute all of everyone, but it's a webinar, so I can't. So thank you for all the love in the chat. Hi, Ashley. Ashley had a question. I too have been on this journey last decade in developing spiritual aptitude. I love meditation as well. I had difficulty initially reconciling meditation with our Native Hawaiian culture, but I've come to realize our kupuna meditated long before meditation became a thing. Do you feel like, here's a question, do you feel like meditation ever borders on misappropriation? Nope, not at all. I think that that's like Nanaviri said, silence was our superpower, that we were a meditative people in general. And I think that now we have a new word, meditation. But I think our ancestors would say it was pule, or prayer, right? That before they did anything, cooked a meal, ate a meal, there was always that moment where they paused and set intention. And that might have been pule to Akua, that might have been pule to the ancestors, whatever it may have been, but they made space for that. And that to me is highly written about in our culture. And I think that, that's what I connect meditation to. It's that pausing to give space for the sacred to come in and work its magic. I struggled personally with like sitting still and like quieting my mind. I have an alcoholic father. And so I was raised in chaos, and my magic was I became the calm within the storm. I could take all the chaos and manage it really well and like lead everybody to the North Star and we're going to be fine and all the things. Right. And that I later found out in my life was an addiction. It had moved to an unhealthy point where I was actually addicted to that chaos. And so I really had to work really hard to quiet down myself and my mind in order to get into that meditative state. So that's been the work that I've been doing. Now, ho'oponopono, right, is a Hawaiian cultural practice that is oftentimes bastardized, and that's really sad and really unfortunate. But you need only Google the word to see all of the crazy stuff in the universe around ho'oponopono. But I would say that has nothing to do with us. that we practice our spirituality by our connection to ourselves, our connection to our ohana, and our connection to this ʻāina. And as long as we continue to invest in each of those things, how we pray and meditate is our prerogative. So I feel like, yes, meditate. Like, I love it. We need more Hawaiian meditation. So as you continue your journey, Ashley, maybe you can become a beacon for others. Yeah. Ashley's also wondering if anybody else has had this experience or has dealt with this. Oh, here I have Mana'o. In response to Ashley, Auntie Emma DeFries, Hulu Kupuna, told me many years ago that I should meditate, meditate, meditate. I love that. Thanks for that wisdom, Nikki. Another comment, makes perfect sense. I love it. I think I get confused with what meditation means to sometimes, but it's helped me to develop the capacity to be with all kinds of emotions and sensations and thoughts. Yeah, totally. And I think too, like we get caught up, like meditation is like sitting in a circle and, holding our hands up, but meditation is you, like whatever it is for you, like you are the Van Gogh of your story, of your painting, like meditate in a way that feels good to you, that speaks to you, and unapologetically too, like, yeah, there's no, you're connecting to yourself, your ancestors, and this ʻāina. That's the work, right? There's no wrong way to do it. People do it in many different ways. I think that's the last question, or mana'o. All right, I'll pop off, but mahalo piha. I hope you guys follow Actions of Aloha, and my Instagram is Make Magic Mālia. Always happy to talk story on there too if you want to get in touch with me. But I really appreciate your time and your energy and sharing it with all of us. And I hope that you take a couple of gems away from tonight. Happy Aloha Friday, kako. Ahui ho.